Hello and welcome to Niaga Spotlight. Me, Tamina Kausji. Niaga Spotlight goes through the week in business and future affairs, market watch, industries, analysis and insights. We've got you covered right here on Niaga Spotlight. Well, this week on analysis, we're looking at Labor Day 2024, focusing on the global theme, which is social justice and decent work for all. Now, in Malaysia, the demand is for more equitable pay as the current minimum wage is insufficient to provide a decent standard of living. On one hand, the progressive wage policy, under which employers would gradually increase pay for their workers based on their skills, experience and performance, will start soon in June 2024 and involve 1,000 companies in a pilot project. Meanwhile, the government is being called upon to set a new minimum wage this year of 2,000 ringgit per month, as the current minimum wage of 1,500 per month is low compared to the actual cost of living. Department of Statistics Malaysia DOSM stats show that 35% of formal sector employees in Malaysia, that is over 2.2 million individuals, earn well below 2,000 ringgit per month as of March 2023. DOSM also reported that in 2022, women on average made a total income of only 42,080 ringgit per year compared to men at 63,117 ringgit. In other words, for every 100 ringgit in salaries and wages received by men, women only receive 66.67 ringgit. This is also a significant leap in figures from the year before and must come under scrutiny for Labor Day to better determine the gender representation of low earners. Well, all that said and done, Xavier Estupinan, Regional Wage Specialist with the Decent Work Team for Asia and the Pacific for International Labour Organization ILO, joins us now from Bangkok to share some insights on progressive wage policy and living wages. Good morning, Xavier. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Tamina. I'm very good. Still commemorating Labor Day in the search of decent work and advancing in social justice, yes.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for making time to join us for this very timely conversation. Xavier, now may I ask you, to what extent can the voluntary progressive wage policy, the PWP, positively impact Malaysian workers and the economy, more broadly speaking?
Thank you, Tamina. Very, very important question, and the background that you gave was very relevant to this context. Overall, the progressive wage policy in Malaysia has the potential to positively impact workers by raising wages, improving productivity, and promoting economic growth. These are critical elements in the equation of sustainable growth that has been rightly addressed in this policy paper. However, successful implementation will require careful monitoring and continuous social dialogue among employers and workers' representatives to address specific challenges from the inception phase, as rightly said, in June 2024 is going to be deployed, until September 2024, where it's meant to have a wider connotation. There are several trade-offs that we see in the policy. I'd like to mention a few. While reviewing or remaining as a voluntary scheme, opting companies into the system, this could obviously foster ownership and commitment among participant employers. However, this may also create a natural selection for higher productivity firms or sectors to enter the system. On the other hand, we have offering financial incentives to participating firms. The progressive wage policy encourages the increase of wages while also focusing on productivity improvements, meaning a skill enhancement, maybe technology adoption, which not only benefits worker by potentially increasing the wage earning capacity, but also contributing to economic growth. So this aspect actually recognizes how crucial a driver are promoting productivity gains for increasing wages. This is a very important linkage. Also, the progressive wage policy mechanism, including the suggested annual salary increases by sector and occupation and incentives, aim to ensure fairness and transparency in the wage setting processes. Here, and based on ILO principles, the use of information and statistics will be critical to provide clearer guidelines to promote more equitable distribution of economic growth. And while the progressive wage policy does not explicitly address a tripartite social dialogue for the design and implementation, I suppose its development likely involved consultation with various stakeholders, including government agencies, employers and worker representatives. This participating approach should foster and should ensure consensus building that can lead to more effective outcomes. So in a nutshell, most elements are there. Something not mentioned is is the gender equality and non-discrimination, which could be an opportunity to increase female participation and skill enhancement. A stronger focus on a sectoral approach that can pinpoint specific productivity issues to facilitate wage increases in determined sectors. And finding what are the right incentives that we will follow up on the monitoring, and how we can link this policy to wage setting institutions like the minimum wage through the National Wage Consultative Council, and collective bargaining could further ensure that wage setting practices are informed by both tripartite and bipartite social dialogue. Hope that is clear.
Yes, absolutely clear, Xavier. And I'd like to pick up on a couple of the points that you made there. In particular, the fact that when we're looking at a more inclusive approach, I just wanted your thoughts on whether you feel it is a good start that we're having the pilot project rollout first, which will only involve 1,000 or so companies looking at a progressive wage policy. How soon would the ILO perhaps recommend that we upscale this to perhaps cover not just Peninsular Malaysia, but also, of course, Sabah and Sarawak? The whole country, in fact, and not just 1,000 selected companies?
Yes, thank you, Tamina. I think this is crucial. Inclusivity is essential for decent work to take place on an even playing field. And for this to happen, it's necessary to foster a more inclusive approach. The policy is targeted for workers that are from the 1,500 ringgit to the 4,999. Which is quite correct, where there is the stagnation of wages that have happened. But it is important to address that even larger companies, because this is also targeted only to SMEs, micro and small and medium enterprises, also larger companies may have occupations with lower paid wages. So I think all this process in the inception phase should analyze how we keep on integrating more workers into these in very important initiatives, and not only maybe small enterprises, but also looking up to the larger ones to promote what ILO says, equal remuneration for work of equal value. So all these elements obviously need to be addressed, but of course this is a process, and I understand this sandbox approach is the opportunity to sharp tune some of these elements. This is a very innovative instrument, maybe taken from the Singapore model, but it'll have to take time. As I say, addressing social dialogue at a sectoral basis, tripartite mechanisms could ensure that this inclusive mechanism is further enhanced.
Indeed. Thanks very much. Moving along to another area, Xavier. Now, we can also see that some employers or sectors, of course, in Malaysia have preferred to hire migrant workers, which also keeps wages low. Well, therefore suggesting a connection to the current minimum wage versus the living wage agenda. Xavier, now what other policies are integral in helping Malaysia recognize living wages?
That's a crucial question. Again, I think there is not an easy approach. We know that wage policies are a sensitive matter. Let me first go into the setting of adequate minimum wages. This is an essential mechanism to enhance decent living standards for workers and their families on one side, while at the same time ensuring the sustainability of enterprises that create jobs for those workers. So It is a principle in wage setting to address both the needs of the workers and their families and economic factors. If we were only to address the needs maybe envisaged in a living wage value or estimate, this may result in wages that are above the capacity to pay of many enterprises, leading maybe to job losses, higher informality, reduced direct investment. Conversely, focusing only on certain economic factors, such as export competitiveness, might do the opposite, result in very unduly low wages, working poverty, stagnation of wages, and aggregate demand. So it's really important to strengthen and empower wage-setting institutions to assess if wages are sufficient to cover the needs of the workers and the families, as well as the adequacy in the light of the capacity to pay for different enterprises in different localities. Among other measures to recognize living wages, of course, is the use of data-driven approaches. Using robust data and statistics will be essential for evidence-based wage setting and also the periodic adjustments of living wages. Living wage estimates, along with economic data, can better inform wage setting practices and institutions to reflect these realities, both of workers' needs and economic realities. Therefore, the strengthening of the National Wage Consultative Council is something that still needs to be carried out. Since 2011, I think there's a very important strides in this aspect, but also looking at collective bargaining as a particular wage-setting institution that serves as a platform for bipartite social dialogue, facilitating to operationalize living wages by considering local, regional, and sectoral realities. So encouraging and supporting collective bargaining, which is something that we've not mentioned, may ensure a fair distribution of gains along the global supply chains, empowering workers and their representatives to negotiate better wages collectively, helps establish more adequate compensation levels, both at the floor level and beyond. And of course, other measures that are clearly stated in the progressive wage policy is to enhance productivity, the main driver to increase higher wages. Also formalizing the informal economy. We still find there are levels of even workers paid below the minimum wage, and identify root causes for low pay. So all these aspects, all these policies and measures can definitely contribute to close the gap between the minimum and the living wage.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Xavier. I think those were some extremely succinct insights, and I'd also once again like to just quickly highlight that the ILO has also formally agreed on a definition for a living wage as of just last month. Thank you so very much, Xavier. Your insights were succinct and very much on point. We take a quick break now, and we'll be right back with the rest of Niaga Spotlight. Don't go anywhere.